Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio.
Well, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. Joining myself tonight, Robert, on the show is GB and Bridgeman. Evening, GB. How are we?
Evening, Robert, mate. Aye, all good here, mate. Can't complain. Maybe complain about the Rangers, but apart from that, life's good. And a good evening to the Bridgeman as well.
Some things don't change, GB. Some things don't change. Evening, Bridge. How are you, pal?
I say a big good evening to yourself, Robert, and GB in there. I like to wee snip about worrying about Rangers. Goodness sake. Anyway, I've come out of the closet after 4 days. So, can I just say to you guys, and of course the Takey boys in the background there, a huge good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. That's what I want to hear. Good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio, everybody.
Well, GB, as you said, a wee bit of a moan about Saturday. What's your thoughts on it, mate? I'll not dwell too much on the game. I know the guys did a lot of it last night, and the least said the better. But what was your thoughts on it, mate? Was it a bit of a surprise for you, the way it was approached initially?
Aye, I'm surprised about. I thought the reaction at Kilmarnock was hopefully a turning point. To be honest, Robert, that kind of comeback, that kind of grit and determination, never say die, was kind of like setting fire that night, kind of thing. And I was expecting actually Rangers. Like I was actually out in Glasgow watching the game, and I was more expecting us to score first and go like the kind of 2-0 up. But shocked, Robert, again, how sloppy and sleepy we are, especially at Ibrox. I mean, it's just like I said, you've got the fans and Tavs that got his 500th game. You've got Barry Ferguson coming back to the stadium. It's all there to have a lovely day, Robert, and Rangers just seem to find a way to muck it up for us, you know. I think that, like you says, the lads touched on it last night. I think all of them are just, I think league business, they know, Robert. I think they're just going through the motions. I don't think they're too bothered if they go a couple of goals down and it finishes like that. And if they come back into it, then it's a good day's work. The way the attitude is in the squad now is, it looks like a lot of boys have checked out and they're kind of either looking to their future or they're already on their holidays. But I'll let you dive into different bits of the game if you want. But for me, Butland certainly at fault for the first goal and certainly didn't help for the second goal.
No, yeah, you're right, mate. I think I agree with you. After the Kilmarnock game, the hype of the comeback and the way we looked a bit more controlled with the back four that pretty much played the same on Saturday, to show the frailties again was concerning. Bridge, GB touched on it there, another calamity by Jack Butland, and as we all know, it's not the first this season. I don't think it's going to be the last.
Yeah, I thought he was at fault for both goals, to be honest. He could have done better in the second, let's put it that way. Look, there's not much anyone can say, really and truly. I've got to say, we've spoke about the way the players are and their attitudes, and they stink. It just stinks all the way through. There's something wrong, and there has been for, let's say, for maybe 2 months now, 6 weeks. Really is something wrong, and nobody knows, or nobody thinks they can put their finger on it exactly what it is, because you get this hot and cold type thing, you know. But really and truly, what I've got to say, and this is my honest opinion from the heart, we are in serious, serious trouble, and I don't think we're going to finish second in the league. That's what I think is going to happen. We're going to lose second place and all the European things that go with it. You know, the Europa League and things like that. We'll not get a position in the Europa League next season if we don't get ourselves in gear, because that's shocking, utterly shocking. And you know, another virtual full house, and the place was emptied quite quickly afterwards, you know, and late on the second half. Just terrible. We don't know what we're doing as a football team. We don't appear to know what we're doing. We get pushed off the ball, kicked off the ball, and get nothing for it. And really, I have to say, really, really bad. And you think somebody's going to hit you, bump you, or whatever on the pitch, then you make sure you get in there first so they don't bump you. Anyway, I'll hold my tongue now. I just think that we're very poor. I think we're very, very poor, and we need to get that sorted. It's got to stop. The rot must stop. We must get it back up. But at the end of this season, the word clear out is starting to get spoke about by the Rangers fans. Another clear out. That's the way they're talking.
It's that revolving door yet again, Brisbane, isn't it? The rebuild of every year we seem to have. GB, I don't think we can disagree. I think we'll all be in agreement that Jack Butland's definitely at fault for the first goal. For me, the second one, you have to question Yefty's positioning. He's very, very narrow and leaves that there wide right very open. And as soon as the ball was played, I said to myself, that's a goal. You just seen it coming. And I think Ox said it last night. Butland doesn't say the first. There's no way he's saving the second. But you've got to be in your position as a left back. I know you've got to tuck in at times, but there, the danger was on the wide area, and he never covered himself in glory at all. GB.
No, both of them didn't, Robert. Like, you have to, when you see the still out, like how much space we gave that boy. I mean, the boy had umpteen minutes to, like I say, set himself for the shot and everything. There was nobody getting to him. And why, like I say, none of our team picked up on it. I mean, I know Yefty's the one that's in that position and he should be aware, but even the guys running back to goal, why did nobody spot that there was nobody on him? It's just shocking. Just, again, as a team, they should be defending that far better. And like you say, your guys in your positions, Yefty, he's your kind of first port of call. If he fails, then it's down to your goalkeeper to step up. And again, I mean, see when you watch the two shots for the Motherwell boys, the Casey one for the first goal, it was like a duff shot. We're letting this boy Casey hit a shot on goal. He's murder. He's absolute murder, but he seems to cause problems for us constantly. And then it rebounds off a parried save. And the boy Armstrong just kind of follows it up with a bit of endeavour. You know what I mean? But again, our goalkeeper needs to be brave there and grab that ball out the road. And then go into the second goal. And it's just basically the positioning of Jack Butland again. It just kind of falls in his back. I mean, if that's McGregor, he makes himself big and, like I say, he tries parries it. I mean, it's just, I don't know, just really poor, Robert, and really surprised. Like I say, Yefty and Butland and most of that team have shown performances, Robert, and I just don't know why they've crashed so badly. I mean, they should, if it was Common was issued, then they should be overjoyed that they've got him out the door. You've got Barry Ferguson's coming in. Again, they've got a kind of point to prove that they're here to still show up for Rangers. But it just seems, like I say, it just seems as though they all need a fresh start. And that fresh start might be away for the club, Robert, because that's the kind of attitude that was kind of shown through at the weekend there.
Aye, you're right, mate. Bridge, I don't think GB's wrong at all with the attitude of some players. I know we said earlier that some have checked out, but if they're playing for their futures, if they don't believe it's at Ibrox with Rangers, they're not doing themselves any favours with the attitude they're showing on the park to try and get a move elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's down in tools could be used as a phrase. We've heard that before. But in the league, yes, mathematically and realistically, it might be going. But you're still playing for your careers. You're playing for your future next year at the club. And you're still trying to get a jersey for Thursday night against Fenerbahce.
Yeah, and that's a biggie. You think that's a big bit of bait to dangle in front of them. Say, yeah, let's show us what you've got. But they seemed to me, they seemed incapable of showing. Now, I thought that they were second, in my opinion. They seemed to be second to every ball. And Motherwell, there always seemed to be a Motherwell player that come away with the ball and take some tackles. And you think to yourself, now, why are we not winning that ball? Because they're there or thereabouts. They're not that far away, you know. However, I did notice that a couple of times they went in and managed to win the ball. And when they won it, it was given as a foul, you know. I'm not saying it wasn't a foul, and I just mean that it appeared that every time we won the ball, it was a foul given against us. That's what it appeared like to me, which says to me that somebody's at it with us, you know. And that's what I think's happening as well. So you mix that in, and you've got players that, you know, you get two players in each wing, you know, one in each wing, and they can't appear they can't actually cross the ball correctly, because every single ball that came into the middle was taken over by a Motherwell defender to head it out, or the goalkeeper punches it out. You know, all of that, they're going for the ball. You know that this old saying, go for the ball, because we weren't going for it, and that's the truth. And when it did come out a wee bit, we tried powder puff shots, terrible shots, hitting at the shin, the legs, all that nonsense, and sky high. And that's what we had to put up with at the weekend. I'm not going to rap on that extra, Robert. I'm taking over there. It's a very, very negative, but that's the way I feel about it. I don't see any of our players there. I've said it before. I've said this a number of times. If you take the two teams there and Saturday or Sunday, and I'll tell you now, the Rangers players, none of them would have got into the Motherwell team. The Motherwell team were very, very good against us, and you could see where they played from. They played from the middle of the park in. You know, they could pass from the goalkeeper, 2 passes and they're in the centre circle. Just as simple as that. A lot of the times they played the long ball up high, from the midfield up to the forwards, and that's always been effective against us. We don't seem able, excuse me, to get our head on the ball. We seem to be a wee bit better when Balogun come in, clearing the higher balls, but you can't put it all on one man. It's just bad. We are a very poor team. The way we're playing, a very poor team.
GB, one thing it took me by surprise, and I know under Clement there was a lot of anger and frustration that he didn't change shape. The substitutions were always a bit questionable. So whether you can use the same argument here for Barry or not, but you're 2-0 down at Ibrox, and the subs you make at half time, Lawrence, Balogun, Bajrami, and you've got Danilo sitting on the bench. I know he's not been obviously on form because he's been injured, but he's got a goal in him. But we didn't change shape. It was like for like. There was no positional change. It was the same formation. I kind of wanted to see us come out with 2 up top and try and get back in the game a lot quicker than we did.
I don't know why they're persevering with the formation, Robert. It's been proven with Clement that it was just going south, and since Barry's came in, and that's my only kind of critique of him, is that he's stuck with the same kind of team. He's stuck with the same tactics, and I know Albert touched on it last night. Who else he's going to pick? But the tactics is the one that he should be looking at. Like, if it's not working, then like you say, he's got the opportunity at half time to really shake it up, put Danilo on, go to an old school 4-4-2 and go at Motherwell. I mean, let's face it, most weeks Motherwell were playing against that, a 4-4-2, and most teams are getting joy out of it. And it probably would have, again, their new manager, it would maybe have gave them a kind of wee kick that they were like, oh, that's a bit of a surprise. It proved it when actually Danilo was on the park in the second half, how well him and Dessers were linking up. And by the way, Dessers, I'll give pass marks to. He is a guy that is turning up for his work. I'll agree with Bridgman as well. Balogun did make a difference as well in the defence. Most of the second half was Rangers, and the chances were coming to us, obviously, with Dessers getting his goal, and the line was chopped half his side, which was really unlucky. I mean, I think they said that if it didn't hit Daniel's knee, it would have been allowed to stand, which is, again, if it goes to 2-2, then it's like kind of squeaky bum time, and they might have scraped a result. But overall, it's just like kind of too little too late. I'm in agreement with you, Robert. I don't know why Bajami's not really showing it yet. Tom Lawrence I can understand because he's got good technical ability, but again, he's a guy that's ready to leave the club at the end of the season. He's not got to be wanting any dangerous injuries or anything like that. He's wanting to keep himself ticking here. So why not put on like Bailey Rice or something like that and go with somebody that wants to try and, drive the team forward, want to try and stake a claim in the team and stuff like that. My worry is that Barry, when he said in his first press conference that he says the age when they matter, when they came into the squad, if they're good enough to take the shot, he'll allow them. And the worrying signs is in the last couple of games that it seems to be the usual players that are getting the shots, and none of these boys in the youth are able to grab them, and that's concerning. You know what I mean? So second half, Robert, was better. We could have sneaked it, but again, we always give this mountain to climb, unfortunately.
I would certainly do. It seems to be a thing of the norm when you go bridge.
I was going to say in Bayrami, and look, Bayrami has scored a couple of goals for us, and I'm not taking anything away from him that way. But as a footballer, and he shines a wee bit, and for maybe 5 minutes in the game. But really and truly, you're looking for him to actually grab the game by the scruff of the neck when he's on form, and make the difference. But the difference between him and actually making a difference is very little. It's not there. I don't see that boy being I don't see that boy being a tough guy, able to take a tackle. It just doesn't seem like it to me. I do apologise for sounding nasty to him. I don't mean to. It's just, I think we've got very, very poor football players who are very, very poor passers of the ball, and that proved that. We're doing really well. We're running in there. We're getting into the box, and we're trying to do some. And all of a sudden, we find we're trying to do 1-2s. We keep trying to do 1-2s, and why, I'll never know. But that's what we're trying to do. We are not a great passing side in that sense. We're all right coming up, from the halfway line up. But when you're talking about defence, for me, we're at Ibrox, and if it was me and I was anything to do with the coaching at all, I'd be getting a team that could play 3-5-2 and at Ibrox. I wouldn't play anything else other than that. We have normally got 70-80% of the ball, and we actually I don't know why we end up with centre forwards running up, and that's what it was. Even Balogun running through, and they're not great passers, crossers of the ball. It's just not going to do us any good. But put three centre halves at the back, and then you've got 5 midfielders, and surely we can pick 5 midfielders, including maybe a youngster or two, and make a big difference. And you've got Dessers and Danilo with a bit of luck. I've got a couple of good boys that can play centre forward, and I don't have any problems with that. But 3-5-2 for me is a must. We're playing at Ibrox, for God's sake. This is supposed to be our fortress. Why on earth are we doing this? Why? Back again. Apologies, guys.
No, I never apologise, mate. You're passionate. You're just saying it as you see. We've all got different opinions on it, but Bridge, I'll stick with yourself. A man that GB said is turning up is a Cyril Dessers, another goal. That's 3 in the last 2 games. Got the double at Kilmarnock. I thought he was very unlucky with the goal that was ruled offside. I'm still not convinced how much contact is off Danilo, because if that comes off his knee, the ball surely changes direction. So if it's a skiff, I don't know how VAR's picked that up. But again, he's took his goal well, and was unfortunate with what would have been the equaliser, Bridge.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, what I saw, obviously on second and third viewing, of course, what I saw was that Danilo, the ball did hit Danilo. It didn't ever touch the centre half. So it wasn't as if, if the centre half had played it, then he's no offside. That to me, and what I saw, I thought he touched the ball. The centre there, I thought our player touched the ball. Initially, I thought their centre half had done it, but the 2 or 3 times afterwards when they showed it, I couldn't see Danilo actually touching that ball. But there you go. Did you see him touching the ball, Danilo?
From the angles they've shown me, I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
if anything, it's a skiff off his knee, because I'm convinced that if it does touch him fully, the ball changes direction. But if it's a skiff, I don't know how VAR can pick that up. GB, do you want to
I
come in?
don't see on that point. I never was all through my any career I had at playing football. I never bothered with offsides or I never bothered too much with that. For me, if the referee says you're offside, you're offside, so get on with the game, But the VAR steps in, that causes a wee pause, and you find that, well, you meant with a bit of luck, they'll make a mistake and give us a goal, that kind of thing. Other than that, the referees that we've got and the refereeing team that we've got in Scotland will probably never give the benefit of the doubt to Rangers anyway. They'll just never do it. So as far as I was concerned, we weren't going to get that goal. And as far as I'm concerned, and I mean that sincerely, we were never going to get it. They'll not give us it. So there you go. Well, we allowed 2 goals to go in from out of nowhere, and they ran through. And by the way, best of luck to them. They did the business, and our goalkeeper couldn't stop it, and that's all there is to it. Done. And we couldn't do nothing. Very poor. Sorry, Robert.
No, you're fine, mate. GB, do you want to come in on Desser's goal, and do you think Danilo's got a touch?
You honestly can't tell, and then it comes back to that old saying, isn't it? It's clear and obvious, and it just shows you how poor our VAR is, that you can't have an HD camera that can actually take a good still there and zoom in and see what's actually going on. I mean, it just shows you that there's still work to be done in that area if they've got to keep this equipment involved. I mean, there should be an angle where it shows definitely that what it says, it's hot off them. But what it says, when they slow it down, you can't tell. It's only really Danilo will be able to tell you whether it did or it didn't. I think Dessers was in the frame of mind that he's seen it and it didn't touch him. So I don't know. I mean, again, when you've got 2 Rangers players saying that it didn't, then they're always got to go on the side of, well, he's just saying that just to get the goal into it. I mean, but we're very unlucky with it. I think the big man's finish for it was outstanding. I mean, if that goal was back level, then it could have been the kind of catalyst for us to kick on and possibly, snatch it. But again, Robert, it was too little, too late. We should have seen these kind of chances in the first half. And if this doesn't tell Barry and his team that they need to get Danilo either fit and firing. I mean, if Danilo is still at this stage where he's still kind of last more than 45 minutes, then really, I can't wait for this new takeover to come in and they bring in actual professional people that can get players fit and is available for games. Because by this stage, with the amount of time that Danilo's been in and out the team, this guy should be up to speed. You know what I mean? He should be getting a starting jersey. I mean, we should actually, to be honest, in the talent that we've got between Igaman, Danilo and Dessers, we should try and see the 3 of them on the park at some point all together. Because they've got the talent and they've got the goals all in them to be hurting teams. And Barry said that you'll see these Rangers team in the next couple of weeks. Well, I'm sorry, Barry, I want to see the team right now. I mean, I want to see these changes happening ASAP, because that is just never good enough. These guys have had their chance to try and show up. And like I says, if there's folk waiting in the wings that are coming back from injury, no merely this tippy-tappy run about them, well, we need to make sure that he's passing a fitness test and all that carry on. No, you're either fit or you're no. And if you're not fit, then you're not used to this. It's time to, like I say, start weeding out these guys, because I'm getting honestly fed up with all this kind of saying, oh, he's needing another training session and all this. I mean, how are you going to know if he's got to be fit and well, like say John Suter? I mean, he should have, if he's got to be available for Thursday, you try to tell me he couldn't have came on and helped out at the weekend there. I know that tells me, Robert, do you know what that tells me? That tells me that they've put all their eggs into one basket and it's this European run. I said that a couple of weeks ago when we were on the show. I think the full focus is on Europe now. And once Europe's maybe kicked to the side, or if we're in or out it, then that's when you maybe actually see the league form maybe improve. But that for me, when he's turning and saying that John Suter will be back for Thursday. I mean, he was meant to, I think Clement said he was meant to be back for the Kilmarnock game. I mean, and I don't know. If they're putting they're shortchanging the fans if this is what they're doing, if they're hanging on to just a European run, for me. Sorry, Robert, I went on a bit of a rant there. I went down the Dessers and then European runs and all the rest of it. But honestly, like you could go round in circles with this team. It's absolutely mind-numbing. And yet, what I say is, you could have had a kind of result at the weekend.
It'll certainly be interesting to see. Get these phone lines opened. So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Bridge, one noticeable absentee from the matchday squad on Saturday was young Clinton and Salah. He's obviously brought off early doors against Kilmarnock. Left out the matchday squad on Saturday, as I says. And Barry came out and said that he felt it was a wee bit of reflection time for him, just to sit back and reflect back on the performance obviously against Kilmarnock, and then just kind of set himself ready to go again. But I don't think the boy's done any harm since he's came in. I think he's had 9 league games, 8 of them have been starts, with one man of the match performance by the stadium announcement against Ross County. So I was a wee bit surprised at that, but at the same time, I can see why he brought Balogun in, brought him on, looking ahead to Thursday possibly. Bridgeman.
Yeah, like Inciala, I sympathise greatly with him. He obviously shouldn't have been there for all the games that he played, but he played very well, and I think he's a star in the making. But I think he came up against shall we say, a team that played better than we did, and we left spaces all over the place. And unfortunately, he had a couple of bloomers in a few games, and one of them looked really obvious, particularly, he can't header the ball, he doesn't get it right, and this kind of thing, So I think that they did the best thing for him, to leave him out and not to be involved at all. I think he might not be in again for another month, just for saying sake, just to Fergie and his coaching staff get to grips with him, and to see just what's his have you got a problem? Is there a problem with you? Can't you jump properly? Well, we know he can, but he's no great, and I don't think he's ever been an actual centre half, to be perfectly honest with you. So we're papering over the cracks. We're using Inciala and we're using James Tavernier as centre halves. I'm not saying necessarily at the same time, but that's what we're doing. And that, I don't know whether that's deliberate or whether that's just because that's all we've got, and that's probably more like it. So we're a very poor club in a sense of having a really good squad that you could take one out and put one in, and it's as simple as that. He's got to do a lot more changing, or interchanging, shall we say, to make things happen. And you just think back 4 months, and we never had these type of problems. All of a sudden, these problems are on top of us, and it shows you how bad. And we can say we want. We did get rid of people in January, in the January window, and I'm not saying that every one of them should have been shown the door, but they were, and that's all there is to it. But we had nothing to back that up. We've not had anything to back that up. And your man here has been screaming for a good big centre half in, and get a decent guy to stand beside him, and you'll do well. But unless you do that, you're not going to do too much in this league, because these people will kick lumps at you. You saw that in the last couple of games. Motherwood, what, 2 guys up there, 6'4" or something like that, centre forward. And we weren't going to win very many balls in the air there, because we don't have people that got that height and the ability to header. So that's going to happen all the time. Sorry, I don't mean to go on and on about it. It's all yours, Robert.
I think we've been joined by Port Bear. Evening, Port Bear.
How we doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. Good to hear from you. What's your thoughts tonight, pal?
First I'll start off by saying, mate, and the people probably think I'm defending Philip Clement again, mate, but, Philip Clement's gone, and I'm watching the exact same dross. I think it's time for a clear out, mate, and, our previous manager got a lot of stick for what he was put on the part and the way it ended up. And I did say it last time I phoned in a show, I says to you, look, this squad maybe needs ripped apart again. And then the other man I'm going to hold responsible is Niles Coupin. Because I think the calibre of player he's brought in at Ibrox isn't up to the standard of the league, isn't up to the standard of style of football that we play in Scotland. And I think it runs a lot deeper than just a manager who's been sacked, by the way. And obviously Barry has been brought in to try and get a tune out of these players. And I just feel, Robert, that Carlo Ancelotti couldn't get a tune out of these players, mate. I think these players are just domestically inept.
I don't think you're wrong, mate. I don't think many people disagree either. A lot of these players, as we know, probably should have been sold before now. There's a lot of what we'll call dead wood still around the squad. What I will say though is there's been some performances from some individuals, but not enough as a collective team. But do you think, Port, is it just the players themselves? Does the formation that seems to still be, in the 4-2-3-1, is that playing a factor to what these players are putting on the park?
Well, you guys, let's go with formation first of all. I've heard you guys discuss this for months. Oxjay was, one of the front runners, all the boys on RangersRadio, who was concerned early doors in regards to the formation, because in midfield we're getting ran over the tapper. We're never up to equal measures, physically, and then in the numbers game we're always getting overrun in there. And yourself, Robert, if you lose a midfield battle, that's where games are won and lost, in my opinion, in the midfield. And then you've got players that they're just not physically up to Scottish football, Robert. I watched the Motherwell game the other night, and I said to a guy at work the other day, I done a wee bit of looking at their new manager, and I thought they went and get a boy that's managed in Austria Vienna, and he's been a number 2 and an assistant coach in the Bundesliga as well at some clubs, and he's come in, and that's the only second game against Rangers, mate, and he's came to Ibrox. Their formation, they look tight, they look organised. We did give chances, mate, but in my opinion, the Motherwell just didn't look like, they never looked in real danger. We didn't really cause them enough problems. And this, one two-touch football, Robert, it's non-existent as well. I said, we're watching a team, and you can see the nervousness at Ibrox, and I'm going to, maybe this is giving them a pass, but there's definitely a problem when they're playing in front of their fans. They can't handle the pressure, Robert. That's another thing that these players can't handle. They can't handle the pressure when you've got to win every week, playing in front of 50,000. The demands that Rangers Football Club put on you as a player, I think we're finding out as well that a lot of these players aren't up to the demands of being a Glasgow Rangers player, mate. There's lots of wee things, Robert, that's co-conspiring against a lot of these players. But like I says, I think your man Niles Coupin has got a lot to answer for, mate.
One thing I've said for a long time in the show, mate, especially this season, was the word mentality. I think that's kind of what you're saying there. The players that don't understand the demands and the expectations, or they just say they can't live up to it. I'll take your points to Bridge, man. Bridge, Port Bear obviously says it's the manager's gone. Clement, these players should have maybe got a new manager feel about the place. They certainly showed that against Kilmarnock with the comeback, but then we're brought back down to reality again that maybe, as Port Bear says, this squad just isn't adapt to our league. Not all, but maybe the majority.
Well, those words are ringing in everybody's ears. The squad, they're not able to. Look, the second half against Kilmarnock, I thought Rangers played very, very well. And, they could even score more goals, truth be told. But they really get tore in. But it took them the best part of an hour to realise, what's happening and so on and so forth. And then they started to play. But you could see our midfield could step up. And each man, excuse me, was in to do what the man could do. Excuse me. So that's how I see it. But the weekend, I'm sorry. That was terrible. It was just terrible. I don't. A lot of guys, yourselves included, will give some players a pass marks. I personally didn't think anybody on that park, either substitute or anyone else, was worthy of a pass mark. We were just woeful. Virtually everything that we tried to do was a failure, an utter failure, and that's the truth. And I don't understand it. I may say I don't understand it. We've got 11 players, and it takes 11 players on a park today to play for you. They aren't able to play. There's weaknesses in their psyche, probably. They're bought on it. So if a big fella comes in and downs them, brings them down once, maybe even twice, and they're scared, they'll not be there that guy again. That's sort of the state. And that isn't good enough for the Rangers. You're looking for people who fight in their game and fight in their spirit. That's what you're looking for, people to come to Rangers. A lot of good players came to Rangers, and it really, really took them a long time to realise that they have to bring the skills as well as fight. That's what we need to do. Bring all your skills, but be able to fight. When you lose the ball, you fight back for it, and so on and so forth.
GB, as Port mentioned, that's only that manager's second game for Motherwell. He's came to Ibrox, got a win, and again, despite only being his second game, he's flooded the midfield, dominated our two holders, Raskin and Diamonde, and as Port says, didn't look like they were under any pressure. Does this just show that even with Barry coming in, that we're far too predictable and teams are just easily picking us off?
Yep, far too naive as well, Robert. And this is the thing I said probably back at the start of the season, which again I felt was a bad trait to go down in Port's right. It ties in with Klopp a bit as well, and Philip Clement, where they were at fault, that they wanted to build a young team. They wanted any signing that was coming in, you had to drive the age down to the squad. And a few folk disagreed with me, but I just don't think you can win a title, win trophies with 21-year-olds. I mean, I know you could go through the squad and you're saying Tav, Dessers and Butland and all that are all at a certain age. But I says young Yefty, young guy, Raskin's mid-20s, Diamande's 20, 21. I mean, they're boys. I mean, they've not got that experience yet to fight and battle in a Scottish league. And I think they've been very, very naive, thinking that they could try and do it now that kind of way, bring in a bunch of young boys. They've got pace and power, and their talent will carry them. Knowing this league, you need to, like I say, go up to, like I say, Ross County in a cold, wet night in December and grind out results. I mean, and that's when you need men to be able to be in your team. I mean, you're looking at the teams that were successful in the past for Rangers. Like I say, most of them, there wasn't a lot of 21-year-olds kicking about in these squads. I mean, it was tried and tested players, and I think that's where we missed a trick, Robert. I think that's where the team's very naive, where you've got a like Sam Motherwell that's able to control a bunch of young boys, basically.
Port, would it concern you? Obviously, it's a bit Nils Coupin there. Would it concern you if he is the man in charge of the recruitment come this takeover next season? Would you think he'd be better off with the fact that there'll be a bit more financial backing?
Well, that's a fact. There's two sides to it. Obviously, at the moment, he's shopping, a happy shopper. But when the American consultant comes in, he's going to be shopping at Harrods, isn't he? Yeah, I know that sounds cool, guys, but that's the market Rangers are messing about in right now. They're messing about in a market that isn't good enough for players to be at Ibrox, and it's shown. You've got a few shining lights. I mean, the boy Yefty still excites me, but like Gary touched on, dead inexperienced. Diamande still, I see a player in there, but the physical side of the Scottish game, he gets bullied. He gets absolutely bullied. He gets manhandled, and I think Bridge touched on it. When it comes up for the fight, you can't put the dog in the fight. He's just not got it. He's not got that in him. He's a nice player, and we've said this on this show many times. We're a nice team. We're a nice team to watch when we're playing well. But we're too nice a team. There's no nastiness in us. There's no bite. And like I touched on, the Motherwell manager, 2 games in Scotland, first time in Scotland management, and he knew how predictable we want to play. For the midfield, for the defence, and hitting the counter, easy peasy. But if the American consultant are watching and doing their due diligence on this current squad and the current director of football, right now they've got to be seriously considering ripping it all up. And what I mean by that is, whatever Nils Coppin's style of football is, and the type of player he's trying to get into Rangers for this system that he likes to play, then maybe that whole thing needs ripped up. Because remember, he was director of football and sort of football management and stuff, players. So he's got a philosophy in his head and what style of football he wants to play and what sort of players allegedly we need for that system. Because so far, his system and the players he's got, they can't play that system. They cannot play that system with the current squad we've got. So, right now, I think his head's in the chopping block as well, along with quite a lot of the players, because it might need, and I'll say it again, troops, call for patience, because when this American consortium comes in, don't expect instant success, because this might need to be ripped up once again, from the inside to out, on the playing field. For me, it's rotten for the inside out.
Aye, absolutely, mate. I think there's been, this whole season, there's been so many issues off the park. I don't think, 1, helped Clement, and 2, didn't help the atmosphere between the fans as well. Obviously, the Ibrox fiasco, then having no chairman, no director of football, no CEO. There's a lot of off-the-field matters that seem to be put in the media that certainly did cause some disjointment between fans and squad. But I agree with yourself, Port. I think it does need further looked at, and hopefully this internal review that they're doing, they see that, and these new guys that hopefully come in once it's all finalised and confirmed, that they will start afresh and they will see success. But as you say, it is a bit of patience. And I'll go to GB. It poses a question again. Port mentions about players knowing the expectations of Rangers and Scottish football. Poses the question again of, do we need to start looking at players who are Scottish, or at least within our league?
Aye, I mean, I think you could probably go and get some of the ones that would help you see out again, Robert, maybe. I mean, I think with this new management team, I really hope, when you're saying about the review, I really hope this 49ers squad they've got somebody in there advising them not to bring in somebody, again, another manager that's wet behind the ears, or a director of football that doesn't really understand our league. They've got to find somebody managerial-wise that can come in and understand that they've got to win these games against all the other teams in the league. I mean, Celtic, like I say, the Old Firm games will take care of themselves. Right? If you've got good enough talent, we've proved this squad can take on Celtic by playing football. Right? So both teams, both Celtic and Rangers, can play football. They don't really sit back and sit in and all this, Kieran. The two of them really do go at each other when it comes to a game. So that will just come down to on the day a lot of the time with Celtic. But what we need to do, and what this new investment team need to do, is they need to find a manager that's going to understand how to take on the likes of a Motherwell, how to take on a St Johnstone away, a Dundee United away, and all that carry on. And to be honest, the blueprint's kind of been done with what happened across the city with that Ange. He came in and he knew right away that he couldn't build a squad overnight, so he picked 3 pacey players to go and get and shore up his defence. And this is what we need. We need a manager to come in and understand that he needs to shore up the defence, bring in pace and power and technical ability that can score goals up front, and we'll be all right. And then the likes of your Diamandis and the EFDs and that can progress. I mean, you'll probably get away with, like, say, a Jack Butland and stuff like that. But in the league, if we're short in our league, then it's got to be like the Armstrongs, guys that have been tried and tested for a while, like say Mark, a guy that you can put on and they replace it. Say for talk's sake, it's a Cherny, but you can't have it the way he says you're putting on a replacement like a Ross McCausland. I mean, it's got to be, like I say, tried and tested. there's no point in us buying another Ross McCausland out the league. I mean, we've got one already. So it's, for me, you've got to make sure that they're going to contribute at least and maybe bring you some goals and assists throughout the season. But I honestly think that we might be, hopefully, with this investment, and as Port says, it will maybe take a couple of windows, but I hope with everything that they can turn round, that will be shopping probably in a more lucrative market.
You certainly think so with the finances, and I think, Bridge, that would be music to your ears, because I know your opinion on buying from other clubs within our league.
Yeah, excuse me. I think I'm everybody's pet hate when it comes to this. I don't want to buy anybody from Scotland at all. We don't want anybody. There is no players in the Scottish League at the moment that I would want to buy. None of them. So, and I don't want to be given any of our enemies, because that's what they are. They're basically our enemies. Any of our money. So I think we could go to the market, wherever. If we get some cash in, we go to the marketplace and don't sweat it. Everybody knows we're in the market for a let's say a centre half or maybe two. So as soon as you mention we're going to go and see something, then the price is going to double, treble, and that's what happens in Scotland anyway. You might be able to go to the market and have a look at the market and say, oh, there's so and so there. Then you can make your deals, because the market's a lot bigger. And I would imagine for us, if you've got the cash, then you can maybe make a better splash. But you most certainly can't go into next season with any dreams of winning anything unless you have a couple of centre halves that can play football. You can't do it. You need power in the park and power in the air. So they've got to be big fighters. And I know I say this and people maybe laugh at me. And for me, you can't, for centre halves, you shouldn't be looking at anything under 6'5". That's it. In there, muscle bound. I don't care what you say about them, as long as they can play football and move on the park. Read the game. I like someone who can read the game like Butcher. I love Butcher and Goff. They could read the game, and that's what we're looking for. Our centre halves, I'm sorry to say, don't seem able to read the game. It might just be it might just not be able to do it, and it's as simple as that. So I want you to go out and do this and get two decent fullbacks. I don't know if Jeffy is going to be an answer for us for a fullback, but I think by the end of this season, Mr. Tavernier main factor of finished, and I don't mean that in a nasty way, but you can see he's definitely not the same Tav that we knew and loved. He's trying to take free kicks. He's trying to take this, that, and the next thing. And half the time his free kick doesn't get past the wall. Half the time his corners, they don't get past the wall, and free kicks outside, same again. It doesn't seem to hit him. It's not there for him at the moment. And that comes when you get to his age. It's only a matter of time when these things, which he needed. If he dropped down a league, he'd probably be a star. But no in our league, and no, certainly no Rangers. That's for sure.
You're right, mate. Age certainly catches us up with us all, doesn't it, Port Bear?
Port Bear's only a win.
Don't let him fool you.
I wish.
To be fair, we'll touch on Tav. Obviously a great achievement, Port, to get 500 appearances for a club. But a lot of fans out there to say that he's very fortunate to reach that milestone. But what I don't think you can take away from him is his individual contribution in terms of goals and assists, and some very important key goals at key games. But I think GB touched on it last week. With the 10-year service he's given, he certainly should have a lot more to show in those 500 games.
I think individually, to get to that milestone of 500 games, mate, there's no denying this. He's always available. Conor Goldson was the same, played a hell of a lot of games in a short period of time because he was always available and never injured. So, kudos for that. His goals, amazing. Assists, superb. But we know James Tavernier's frailties, mate, and it's going back the way. It's going back to 100%. And I think over the years with him getting a wee bit older, losing his pace, can't get forward as much as he used to, doesn't provide the same amount of assists or goals, certainly this season as well. So I don't want to see his little man doing, because that's not fair. What I'm trying to say, Robert, is he's not a player now that we need, and I think if Dujon Sterling could keep himself fit, I think that'd be my first choice in at right back in the current climate, because I just think if he's not for anything going forward to have an assist and goals, then why are we playing him? Because he doesn't offer anything going back to either. But like you said, 500 games, mate, fair play to him. But I do think this should be his last season.
I think, if you ask me, mate, I think it will be his last season. Again, some would argue that probably still went maybe a year or two ago, but with what we had, I can see a bit of logic in it. Again, it didn't give the numbers that he's done in the past, and that was always going to happen. And I think it'd be quite remarkable if we ever see those numbers again, especially from a right back. But just when you touched there, Port, about Sterling playing right back, do you see Sterling going right back on Thursday then, with Tavernier and its centre back?
I think it depends on Balogun, mate. If Balogun's fit, I think you put Balogun in there and Tav will stay right back. I think that's what will happen. I don't know how fit Dujon is. Could we get 60 minutes to him? I don't know how fit he is, mate. I mean, check to see if he's available, to be fair, mate, to be honest with you. But if he's just coming back, I would just leave him on the bench and just go with Balogun and just keep Tav at right back, mate, because like you touched on earlier on, Europe is a different beast for Rangers. And on the show I always say Europe's gravy, right? It's just extra, and it's great to get the money out of it. But my biggest aim over the last probably 6 months is, and I'm craving for it, is to get domestic dominance again. I want us to just concentrate in the Marine League. I wish we could do without the European money, Robert, honestly, and just have the Europe, the domestic dominance. But I know Europe's a part of our Rangers, going forward, and I know we need the money, the finances from it. We get good revenue, we get good, people watches, eyes are on my players, etc. So I understand that we've got to be there. But if I'm this new American consultant calling me, I think that's one of the biggest, number one on the remit. Domestic dominance again. I think we have to get back to that. Just back to basics. Back to, winning. A team of winners again, Robert. That's one of the biggest things we've not got either. We've got a team that's not achieved a great deal. And I think that's what Gary was touching on with Tav. If you think about the last probably 44 trophies, Rangers have won 2 domestically. That's frightening, Robert, for a captain that's been there for 10 years.
Very, very frightening. GB, one thing I will say is, yes, it's only 2, but you look at the squads that Tav's been involved in with him. Would it be fair to say over 10 years, he's probably had 2 reliable, if that's the word, squads, and that would probably be the 55 season, and then get into Seville?
Aye, that's been his 2 best squads that he's had. Maybe when he first came, there was a decent squad there to get us back up into the top league, because he played well. He scored a lot of good free kicks and all that doing that league, so that was a decent enough squad there as well for him. So probably he's had about three decent squads, I think. But on that, like the trophy haul for him and stuff like that, I mean, I hear this all the time that he's not a captain, he's not been successful at Rangers and stuff like that. But it's the stuff that he's been up against, the teams that he's been put down in front of him. I don't think any other player could have came in and done any better with what was getting served up at Ibrox, to be honest. I mean, even across the city, if you put that wee McGregor into our kind of circus that we've been having here the last 10 years, there's no way he would have got anything better out of the players. He might have got maybe the Gerrard season with the 55, he might have got the other 2 cups in the bag, maybe. I mean, but when you look at across it, I don't think there'd be many other players that could come in and handle what the kind of level of player that they've been served up to play against and play with. I think, like I says, Tav's, he's done a decent enough job. He's been a good servant. And I think when you look at back in Tav in the years to come, you'll just look at him as the individual and what did he give Rangers. And I think he's gave Rangers good service, good value for money, and he's always showed up for his work. I mean, even when he's been injured, he's been back within a month or whatever. I mean, even when they had that operation where he's, I think it was his hernia or something like that. I can't remember what it was. The one he got rushed to hospital for. He was back within a month, back in the team playing and all that. I mean, when you look through this squad now, the amount of guys that's been out for long term and all that carry on with a strain, a calf strain and all that carry on, it's scandalous. You know what I mean? So for me, Tav will always get plaudits, and whether folk agree with it or no is another thing, but for him as an individual, I think he's been great value for money, a great servant, and then unfortunately he's played in a time and an era for Rangers where it's just been, he's been up against it. Put him in a time with Alex McLeish, Walter Smith and all the rest of it, that guy would have picked up the same amount of trophies.
Just touching on that, poor GB can allude to a bit of stability about the club. 10 years, Tav's been there, 6 managers. No real stability at all, is there?
No, and these are this is domino effect, Robert. This is what's caused the insecurities that I books. That it's caused the year on year, fall of our club, because we went with one project, had to tear it up. Went with another project, had to tear it up. Different players coming, different players leaving. It's just been a shambles, Robert, rolling on since season Gerrard left. We should have kicked on for Gerrard. Absolute fact. We should have kicked on. The board have reinvested in the squad. We should have kicked on. But instead, we've been made accept mediocrity and been second. And that's what that squad looks like, Robert. This squad looks like a team that accepts second. And we can't accept that as a fan base. No board should be accepting that. Nobody should be accepting second best at Rangers. And that's what really, I'm going to say, but that's what really annoys me. We settle for second best. That's the way it looks to me, and I can't accept it, Robert. I can't.
Can I come in on that?
Can you go, Brett?
I think these are poignant things that the guys are saying. To think that we have accepted, talking about the fans, that the fans have actually accepted this second best attitude with the players is actually wrong, as we know. None of us are accepting that. But the players, it's not the manager even, it's the players that seem to be accepting, well, it doesn't matter. Shrug the shoulders and we're going to play next week because we've got the contract, possibly. That's the way I think about it. However, Tavernier's been with since 2015, I think it is. And that's the first, 3 seasons we were we were doing the championship or something like that when he came. And we won the championship. So it's known what it's like to play at a different level and came through with Rangers. And his skills were fantastic for us. But as I think I said that a wee bit earlier, he's getting on. And actually, as I've played football and people have played football for many years at different levels. But when you see sometimes a player moving back, when as the years go on, he gets slower and slower. He's not necessarily the slowest person in the park, but he's getting slower. His games get slower, and his thought process gets slower. So he ends up in defence somewhere, and that's actually what happens to him. And you can see when he's playing at centre half, as long as he's not under pressure, he looks as if he knows what he's doing and he can pass the ball and read the game a wee bit. But put him under pressure at right back, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He really doesn't know what he's doing, and it's a sin for him because all the weight of the world's actually landing on his shoulders. And I don't want to be the person that says, well, Tav needs to finish up, but I will say it. Tav needs to finish up. But the truth is, it's been a great servant. But this last 6 weeks, it's actually it's ruined. I think it's ruined Tav's reputation. That's what I think's going to happen. So that's his 500th game at the weekend, and look at the status. Just look at the status. It's just beyond belief. Just beyond belief what we're left with. I'm getting upset. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't worry, mate. You go and grab a tissue because we are going to have a
Oh,
tune.
I'm going to do that.
I don't know if you can see what the Rangers really mean to me in these last few years. I've been afraid that we might drift away, so I've been telling old stories and singing songs that made me think about where we came from, and that's the reason why I feel so very proud today. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Ibrox Stadium is calling me, and now I'm coming home. To think of life without the Rangers, you know that it would make me more sad. Glasgow Rangers, you're everything I've ever had. We won 9 in a row, and I'm still dreaming of Brian Laudrup and Trevor Stephen. Big Marvin Andrews said keep believing. Davy Cooper on the wing, and we remember Gaza with great affection. The day the helicopter changed direction, and Jimmy Baxter was pure perfection. Super Valley scores again. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Ibrox Stadium is calling me, and now I'm coming home. To think of life without the Rangers, you know that it would make me more than sad. Glasgow Rangers, you're everything I've ever had. So let me tell you that I love you, and I think about you all the time. Ibrox Stadium is calling me, and I'm coming home. To think of life without the Rangers, you know that it would make me more sad. Glasgow Rangers, you're everything I've ever had. Without the Rangers, you know that it would make me more than sad. Glasgow Rangers is everything I've ever had.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Cheers for that, Fox. A wee toe tap with a freezel. Are we all back?
Yep, mate, I'm back.
Yeah, back to that.
To
Yes,
think
back.
of life
Put-
without the
put's back.
Rangers.
That's great when that's
It's brilliant.
it's great when that's getting sung around the stadium, and it's a real good atmosphere. That
Fabulous.
is.
Just tingling, it? Tingling.
That is indeed. GB, you've got a question, I believe.
I mean, no, it was just obviously you brought the subject to Tav. We never got your thoughts on it, mate, before the tune. It would be good to know, like, I mean, you've seen previous captains and all the rest of it. Do you think he's been a bit hard done by?
I think as a captain of Rangers, you're always going to be hit for kind of scrutiny. When the team is not performing well, you're always looking at your captain to motivate them, big them up, put an arm around the shoulder, shoot at them, whatever it may be that gets that other player going. At times, he's lacked it, but I think the fact that he's went through 6 managers in those 10 years and not once has there been a change of captaincy, apart from when he's obviously not in the squad, but as a full-term time captain, they've seen enough of him as a leader. And you've kind of got to just go with what they're doing. I mean, they see the Tav day in, day out. They see what he does in the training ground. And if that's who the captain is, I want him to succeed. He hasn't done it as a team level. Individually, yes, he's got a lot of numbers and accolades. I mean, not every right back was going to get the golden boot in a European campaign. But I just think that if you look at the 10 years, you will, as you say, GB, you're always going to look at Tav, the player, what's the player done, rather than what squad he's been in, what has he won. It's not a great showing. I mean, he was, what, as Bridge said, he was signed in 2015 by Warburton. 1 season in the Championship, 9 in the Premier League. And in those 9 seasons in the Premier League, Celtic have had 5 trebles. That's not down to Tavernier. That shows that our club, as Port said, hasn't stopped their dominance and started our own. So he's always going to get a lot of fingers pointed. Same as a manager. Manager and captain are probably the first 2 to get it in the neck. But I think he's contributed as an individual, but he's just not got the success to show it within squads.
I think he's captained actually the club to one of their most important titles. I mean, 55, no matter what, will always go down as us stopping them across the city. You imagine the absolute mess that we'd be in if that was allowed to happen, if we didn't get 55. You know what I mean? And no matter what, can't take that away from him. Plus, as well, if you touched on, Robert, he took us to a European final. Across the city have not done that. Their captain's not done that. With all the trophies that they've won domestically and all the rest of it, they've not been to a European final in recent times. With all the funds that they've got, with all the disposal of good players, and they've not got near it once. And yet Tav has. And granted, like I say, a lot of people want the domestic dominance. I do as well. But, I mean, fan groups could go all their life without seeing a European final. And luckily enough, we've been able to see 2 probably in our time. Hopefully we see more. We ultimately, I think we'll see more titles. No matter what, with this investment coming in, there's got to be a title probably around the corner. But could we have done better? I agree, aye. But that's the one thing I think Tav will be able to walk away with his head held high, that he like says, stoped that across the city, go to our 55 title, and like says, he led us to that European final again.
No, you make good points. I mean, I think you're touching there about hopefully more titles under this new ownership that's ongoing. Obviously, news broke yesterday that a deal was agreed in principle, which seems like kind of a small step, but I think in terms of what it means for us as supporters, it's a massive step towards the right direction. And now it's just about all the kind of paperwork behind the scenes. It's been ongoing since October, led to believe. So it's certainly very, very far advanced. In Port, you said the word patience, but do you think that the first season they need to come in, hit the ground running, and get that title back? Obviously, you want to, but do you think that's the way it's going to go?
If I'm honest, no, Robert, because this is what I'm asking for patience. Because how do you lift this squad? How do you lift? I mean, we've watched this squad being built under Clement, and Barry's trying to put the jigsaw pieces together and trying to make best of what he's got. You know, and apart from the Kilmarnock game, we obviously got to be turning them after half time. We're still seeing the same fragility in these players' psyche, their will to win, their desire. And for any new manager to come in, Robert, I said that earlier on, Carlo Ancelotti could come in next year. And I don't know how he gets this team up and ready to go and, start a title challenge for day one. Because, and I don't want to be negative, Nelly, mate. I really don't. But I'm speaking fair heart. I'm speaking real here. I'm only going what I'm watching in the park. I'm only going what we know about what's going on off the park, as in my director of football. The guy goes and finds his players. In the current climate and the current way the club's been run, and I know things will change, but like I say to you, mate, it's rotten from the inside out. So that new regime of owners are going to need to, in my opinion, wipe it clean from inside the club. And I'm talking a whole lot, mate. Coaches, your sports scientists guys, director of football. That's all going to need to be shifted, mate. Because I think what's going to have to happen is when they decide on the manager they're going to go with, they're going to need to back him 100% with his own staff, his own director of football, and they have to be, connected and have the same beliefs in their philosophy. So in other words, if a director of football goes and finds a player, that manager has much a say as a director of football, and such as he gets to speak to these guys face to face, a bit like Gerrard did, face to face, look them in the eye, and the manager has to be experienced enough to go, right, aye, you're for me because I can trust you. I've spoke to you, and you're saying and you're doing the right things. I just think it's so important, Robert, that we get it right, mate. And this is why I'm calling for patience, because I don't see immediate success right away.
Same question to you, GB. Do you think they'll come in, they'll fling a bit of cash at it and try and get that title to obviously appease the fans and start off a new tenure's a very good successive start? Or do you think they'll be like Port says and a bit patient about it, clear the decks? I mean, already we've cleared some of the decks already. Is that maybe trying to resolve that financial fair play so that they can come in and have a go first season?
I think so, Robert. I think this season, I think maybe even right back to probably pre-season, they've had a kind of inkling that there was investment been sniffing about Rangers, and I just don't think this has popped up in January. And like they've said, obviously it's been early October. Then a couple of months back for that, you're in amongst pre-season. So I think there's been kind of an inkling there that Clement's been told that obviously there's not got to be a great transfer budget because they need to kind of clear the decks. I think they need to tidy. He's been told they need to tidy things up. It's got to be a challenging season and basically hope for the best kind of thing. And then, like I says, you look at January, we brought in the own signing of Fernandez. Now, when you're looking at our squad, it looks like a total pointless signing because, again, it's probably not cost us a lot of money. And then coming into the summer, I think, like you says, with the investment foothold there, they'll be in a good position with, like say, more players leaving, like say Tav, big wage off the books. You've got Tom Lawrence, and I think you've got a couple of others that are out of contract and stuff like that. So, again, that will all help drive down that and make money available to spend for the new manager and, like I says, hopefully in other areas of the park. So I think this has been coming, Robert. I think there's been a plan in place, and it's just that we've not been able to get told the full story. And maybe in years to come, we'll be sitting at one of these nights and we'll get told all about it and what was going on, and we'll probably look back in this season and go, if we knew that, then we probably had, as Port says, we would have had the patience. But this is where the new regime is coming in. They've got to be kind of a wee bit more open with us and tell us what the plan is, what they're looking to do, how maybe hamstrung they're going to be initially to try and get more investment into the club. I mean, the fans maybe got to be happy if the naming rights of Ibrox get changed, because that's a big way how you get money into the club. They rename maybe Edmondson House as well. I mean, it's all this kind of stuff. They're going to be looking at ways to try and get money into this club. And then that's the only way you're going to actually get better quality in the park. We've shown, obviously, you've got affordability there. So when it comes to patience, fans are going to have to be patient with the team, and they're going to have to be patient in what changes could be possible doing about Ibrox. Ibrox, for me, will always be Ibrox, Robert.
Aye, absolutely, mate. Let the business side do the business and the footballing side be the success. Bridge, I'm with GB and Port. Obviously, as fans, we demand success. We have a high expectation. But I think Port's right. We have to be a wee bit realistic here and have a bit of patience, because the last thing we want to do is these new guys come in and we fling money at it and we get it wrong. And then we're left in a worse position or another conundrum where you've got a load of players not filling up potential, high wages, and maybe a manager on a long-term contract, and you're left back at square one yet again. Bridgeman.
Sorry, pal. We have to be very sensible and wear our Wurzel Gummidge's good head, you know. We're going to get to the end of the season. In all probability, the way I think it's going to happen, we're going to get to the end of the season, and if everything goes all right, they're going to sign on a dotted line and say, we're now the new owners and blah, 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 blah. And there'll be a bit of fanfare of this is going to happen or that's going to happen. We could deal with that talking then, probably. But we'll wait. It'll probably be another couple of weeks before they decide what they're going to do. And I love the idea of getting some money and renaming it Edmondson House, just for saying sake, or add something onto it. Edmondson House by, I don't know, San Francisco 49. They're just using that loosely, you know. That kind of thing. Ibrox, well, I'm not dead sure about the stadium. I'd love to see them getting a really good name, a really good commercial name, you know. But I don't see Coca-Cola coming in and giving us mega bucks, you know. The Coca-Cola Stadium, you know, would need to be the Coca-Cola Ibrox Stadium, something like that, you know. And so I don't know how that would go down, but I'd love it to happen. I'd love them to be able to do that and if they do it once, get their mindset, because that needs to happen every other season so they can get more money in, because it's one of the true ways of earning money. That can go straight into the coffers, and it doesn't breach any regulations that are going around, you know. It's the club earning money. I'd love it. I'd love it to be like that. But on the playing side or on the team side, I don't think you're going to see anything at all until, let's say, midway June, the middle of June, something like that. Before then, they're going to stop. They'll come in, have a look, decide who they're going to have in there to do the job, and they might stick with Barry. You just don't know, then, you know. But I would suggest that they're going to look at get their own managing group, and you'll maybe have five of the management group, coaches, call it you like, and they'll do the business, and they'll then go and they'll go and buy the players, whatever they're going to buy. But I've not got any great expectations in the first season. But what I do want, I want them to come out with a team that's actually going to play, and I want to, if there's any, shall we say, refurbishment requirements in Ibrox, within Ibrox, the toilets, etc. We all know how bad they can be. So we want all that done up. We don't want to be walking into Ibrox and there's no toilets or no hot water, all that crap. Get it sorted. And that's a wee bit of investment they could do from an infrastructure perspective. That doesn't matter what happens. So if they've got a couple of bob for the stadium, that's good as well. You know, let's get it done. And as far as I'm concerned, they can then step in, and within 2 weeks, 3 weeks into June, they'll have their management team set up, and away we go. And that's when you're going to start to see what they're going to do with these players, because these players will got them now. And you can see all you want. I'm not being funny, guys. You can see all you want. The team, the players in the team must play together. They must perform as a team. And you always are going to have better players. You know, some players better than others. You always have that in a team. But they've got to be able to do it. And I'm sorry to say, looking at it, just go over it, even the last month, and you'll see in your heart, you'll know that we don't have that. That these boys that we've got, skillful that they may be, there is only maybe 4 or 5 that I would suggest you would keep. And Mr. Suter is not one of them, I can tell you. So for me, there's going to be a total clear out and a total rebuild, particularly of the defence. And hopefully there's our goalkeeper actually will get some form before the end of the season, because his Jake is in a sugary peg, that's for sure.
Port, one thing that as soon as the announcement was made, I don't know about yourself, mate, but the first thing that came to mind, obviously, when you hear investment, Americans, San Francisco 49ers, you start to think of the money they can put up, and you start to dream a wee bit of how this can go and where it can go. A lot of names will obviously be mentioned in terms of managers and linked players and stuff. But I think, I'll be honest, mate, I think the club offers a great platform for a manager to come in, and I mean a top name manager, because it's Rangers Football Club, it's dressed in history, it's a 2-horse race in the league, you've got European football every season, and you've got brand new owners with fresh investment. I think you might be surprised with some managers that maybe take an interest to this job without even going to players first of all.
First of all, mate, in terms of managers, you've got to remember how big your club is. No matter where Rangers are in football in terms domestically and European, you know, where their European legacy is, there's a lot of managers out there, mate, who are not within jobs at the moment that would bite their hand off to get a crack at Rangers, a shot at Rangers. I still think we've got that pull, mate, especially when it comes to managers. I think we're big enough. And that was with the current board, by the way, right? New, like you're touching on, you've got the 49ers Consortium investment group, who, let's just say, we know about these American investment groups in sports, especially in their foray into, you know, UK football. You get Birmingham, Burnley, Liverpool, who are having successes, new Leeds. So anyone the Americans seem to touch in football in terms at the moment, they seem to do very well. Man United with the Glazers and that as well. You know what I mean? So they seem to do well. And I know Man United's in a bit of a dodgy time, but well, they've still won a lot of stuff under the Glazers. So this got me excited, Robert, right away. The minute I knew about this American investment team coming in, because I've discussed this with Gary. I've discussed it probably with you as well, or I've met you as well outside of the show. And I've always wondered why, you know, a consortium like this hasn't bought us away back in 2015. I just seen us as a cracking opportunity for, you know, an investment group to come in. Not have to spend the same money as you have to spend in the Championship in England. Not have to spend the same money as you have to spend in the Premiership in England. But probably for a quarter of the money that you spend down there, come to Scotland, as you said, when you're in Europe, guaranteed, whether it's Europa or Champions League every year. So your global company is taken through Europe and the world, because everybody watches Champions League, everybody watches Europa. As you said as well, again, sell the naming rights to the stadium. Even Auckland Howie, mate, I would sell naming rights to that. You know, I would sell the naming rights to everyone we've got, because none's going to ever change for me. It'll always be Ibrox, it'll always be Edmundston House, it'll always be Auckland Howie, and it'll always be Rangers. I've said it before, call us Red Bull Rangers. I couldn't care. As long as our club go back to winning ways, and our club, you know, we're winning things, it's installed into the players, and the club can drive forward because of that, Robert. Because, as I said right now, because we're so low, fans are low, the players are low, we're at a place right now where we feel it's second best, and we find it so hard to accept that, because I grew up when we were winning trophies week in, week out, and I do feel sorry for the young team right now who've not felt like you, Robert, Gary, Bridgeman, myself, and I think it's a young team that are the future of the club, and it's them that crave that win, mate, and they want to feel what we felt back then, walking out the front door, chest out, swaggering down the street, laughing at them all. But we've not had that, and it's made us flat, and I think that's where there's a lot of problems with the fans, and that's what I'm hoping the Americans do. I think they come in with major investment, you know, they redo the stadium, that there'll be a massive budget for that. I'm led to believe that's one of the main things they want to, you know, improve the stadium, the fan experience. you know, and everything should just roll on from that. So a decent manager, you know, decent backroom staff and decent playing staff, and all of a sudden you're on a trajectory, mate. And that's what we're looking for. But as I say, be patient.
Fox is saying we should get the NFL goalposts in. Maybe that way we'll get a shot on target.
He's not wrong, is he?
That's very good. That's a cracking suggestion, actually.
I'm hoping the first thing
Just
they
make
make in the NFL is the cheerleaders, if I'm being honest.
Oh, yeah, that's
what
what you want. I know that.
Aye, and then the halftime entertainment as well, please.
But you know, that would go down a bomb as well, wouldn't it? Truth be told. That'd be brilliant, yeah.
Bums
The,
and seats,
the Americans do it best, and I mean, we know that. We know from the big like Super Bowl things like that. You watch, if anybody's watched the NFL, even UFC, any boxing event in America, they do it well. They know how to make the fan experience top notch, and I think that goes a long way to improve your club. If the fans are enjoying where they're at, you know, and they're getting that, you know, a buzz before the game, like Gary's touching on, half time, another wee buzz at half time, and then they make you all dance at full time and all. Gary, when we win.
That's I mean, just chuck it all in the big pot.
I think you're right there, Port Bear. I think that look at the WWE, how that's come on in the last
another
50
example,
years.
yeah.
Just unbelievable stuff. Brilliant.
They do it best, Bridge. They do it best. The Americans know how to, you know, maximise profit through, you know, all avenues, whether it's on TV, radio, advertisement, whatever. You know, and that's the way forward. I think we'll become, and I'm glad somebody's finally like I touched on earlier on, somebody's grabbed the hood of Rangers by the scruff of the neck and said, right, we're just going to buy this. We're going to buy this. We're going to invest it, because I think they'll be shocked when they realise the money they're going to make from Rangers, having spent, as I say, maybe a quarter of what they would spend in the Premiership or the Championship in England to get a global phenomenon, i.e. Rangers, is going to take their whole brand globally, because, as I said, we're a worldwide institution, and that's what they've bought, and they're going to be shocked, I think, with how big we are. They don't know yet, but I think they will.
Delightfully so.
But see, now you're talking about like the naming rights and stuff like that. One thing we're not thinking about as well is what happened with Newcastle. They moved in shirt sponsor, so they'll be able to attract a better shirt sponsor to us as well, a better deal. So you might find, like,
100%.
say, what will make Dougie Bear probably happy. You'll find that it'll be like Adidas champing the door, Nike champing the door.
Yep.
And then you've got on top of that, you mentioned about Man United. Look what they done with, was it Chevrolet? On the shirt sponsor in the front
Chevrolet, yeah.
Right, it was like named as one of the biggest deals ever made. Now, I know that they'll maybe not get to that kind of level, but there will be, what I say is, maybe a like Ford or something like that might actually buy into it. You know what I mean, and put their name in the front of it and their own. This is where the European football is probably being excited for them, is that they'll have maybe a brand name in the front of a Rangers tap in Europe getting promoted. Again, that'll be a good way to get money into the pot so we can spend it. You mean it? There's so much there they can do it with.
Aye, the consortium have got links with Red Bull, mate. I know I threw it out earlier on, but if you look at Leeds United right now, they've got that this season they put the Red Bull on this. As soon as that mob got full controlling stake, they've got ties with the Red Bull brand. So don't be surprised if that's what you see, the two bulls, there's two fighting bulls ramming each other, basically. That's what's on the lead strip. So don't be surprised if that's what you see.
We're still talking about football.
You know what I mean? Heat-butting each other.
I'm going to start drawing links to Red Bull. Then there's a certain manager, or a former manager, Mr. Jurgen Klopp. If you want to apply for the job, mate, Edmondson Drive. That's the names you dream of, though, innit? You think the names, like you say, Port, a big household name, and I'll go to yourself, GB. As me and Port have said there, it's a great platform, but one thing that we might entice a manager as well is financial fair play doesn't come in to a manager's cost if they're in a job or their wages. And we've got a massive platform. It's a fresh start for everybody. And it might be a manager that's like a Jurgen Klopp, like a Rafa Benitez, maybe been out the job a wee bit and thought, what a start of my career again at Rangers. Why not? Dream a bit. Be realistic, but let's have a dream.
Any like decent manager enjoys winning trophies, you know what I mean? And Rangers is a place where you can, like I say, you're in and amongst the trophy hall most seasons. You've got a good chance of picking up something, you know what I mean? And again, Europe is, I think the boys touched on it last night, most seasons we're got to be guaranteed some sort of European football every season. So again, good thing for a manager to be coming in for. I think this is where, like you say, Robert, where they've probably got to spend the money, and it's good that that's not got to affect the financial fair play, because we've seen in other clubs what they can do with a manager's wages. You know what I mean? So as long as the boys are smart with it, go out and get a top manager, a good coach, somebody that can improve players. I mean, we've got talent in that squad. It's not all broken. We've seen what they can do against Tottenham. We've seen what they can do against Nice and all the rest of it, and what the players have done in the past in Europe and stuff like that. What they've done against Celtic as well, by the way. We can't forget about how we ran them off the park in December, and that was when us at our probably worst as well. So there's a team there to be worked with. We just need, I think, the money needs to get spent on a top manager or somebody that's going to inspire people the way it kind of happened with Gerrard and stuff like that. Somebody that's, and that's one thing is, again, we link back to Port, is that the Americans love a name. They love somebody that catches people's attention. So I'm very excited in that bit, that I really do hope that, even though it might not be a named manager, but maybe somebody a Premier League or, like I say, European level that they can attract. Like say, yeah, Benitez, it's been at the game quite a while. Or it says even I think Port, we touched on it the other day there, the ex-Norwich manager, the German boy, it was number 2 to Klopp. I mean, it's something, again, that he might be interested in. We could be shooting the moon here with Benitez and stuff like that and Klopp's and stuff, but I think, like I says, there's names there that I think would be very interested in looking at Rangers and seeing what they could do with it. And I certainly think with the budget that we might have, even the budget that we've got now, as long as you give that to a kind of top coach, I think you can get better out of what we're seeing on the park.
I totally agree, mate. And I'll go to Bridge. GB mentioned Newcastle there, and they obviously got a hefty takeover, rich owners. But the market they shopped in, they didn't go out gung-ho and sign superstars. They signed players and made their squad better. And as I said, there's not a massive superstar in there, but they've got the money, they've got the backing. So is that a kind of a team we look at as well and copy how they've approached it with this money?
I have to agree with you to a certain extent. I still believe, because I quite like Newcastle, I believe Newcastle are still just a sleeping giant. And I think whatever happens, they're going to get an extra lot of money poured into them to make them even better. But things have got to change, obviously, with shall we say, the powers that be. But I think that will happen. I think Rangers and this San Francisco 49ers, whomever the company is that's coming in to invest in Rangers as they purchase Rangers, they're coming in here. Something big's going to happen in the European / the UK area, and they're going to create big leagues. And I want Rangers, I'd love Rangers to be sitting there ready to walk into whatever league they want them to be at a European level. But that's what I would really love, because I think it's going to happen. I think there's going to be some sort of consolidation in Europe. I could be wrong, of course, maybe I'm talking a lot of rubbish, but I think there'll be some sort of consolidation in the leagues. But we don't, at the present moment, as a club here, we need to have someone who, let's say at managerial level, who is well known. I mean, really well known. I'd go for Gerrard as a starter and let him build his squad and do the business, because he's a huge name in football. But you mentioned players there, rather managers, and some of them are just heavenly names, whether we would ever get some of these guys even thinking about Rangers. But yeah, if we've got a really good company is heading it and backing us financially, then I don't see why we shouldn't think along these lines. I don't know if Klopp would come to Rangers just for saying sake, but wouldn't it be marvellous if he could walk up to somebody like Klopp and say, "Oh, there you are, I don't worry about the salary, everything's fine here, come and do this." I don't know if it would happen, but it'd be lovely to be with a company who backs us all the way and takes over the stadium and does whatever they're going to do. And I know we've always said, most of us have said, we want Ibrox to be a lot bigger and a lot flashy, not flashier, but a lot better inside, more comfortable. And so that it's when they come and they match, it's a great match day, full of entertainment and so on and so forth. It would be really lovely if Rangers could get that. And that's another thing that we'd like to do. But first of all, for June, please, we need to have some sort of management team and let them build it up for us, But seriously, some of the things you said there, Red Bull, my God Almighty, imagine Red Bull being on the Rangers today. Oh my, that's fabulous. Yeah, I think it would sell out, wouldn't they?
No,
I think it would sell out, absolutely. Wow, Jesus Christ.
But it's just to jump on your point there about the managers and stuff like that. Like let's not forget the manager we're going to be facing on Thursday night, Mourinho. Who would have thought that he would go and manage in the Turkish league for Fenerbahce? Now, granted, they're a big club, but again, the level that Mourinho's been at, Madrid, Man United, Chelsea, he's managed big clubs. And
I would say he was one of the best managers in the world, if not the best manager in the world, before he was 40.
And there you go. Like I says, he was persuaded to go to somewhere like Fenerbahce. Now, granted, they'll be paying him a very decent wage, but what's not to say that, like I says, with our investment that comes in, that we can't. I'm not saying Marino, that's got to rock up at Ibrox, but like I says, there's good opportunities there to pick a right good coach now. I think we've been, as what says, we've been kind of shopping in the cheaper market for a while now in the managerial hunt. Clement, Beale, Gio to a certain extent, and then Nahum Gerrard, absolute hero. But again, he was a novice guy coming in. We took a punt on him, and it worked half, and it worked brilliantly. The guy loved the club, and we loved him as well. But I think it's time now to spend the money wisely on a proper management team now that's got a bit of experience behind them, and they know tactically how to deal with these kind of low blocks and all that, because we should, no matter whatever team rocks up in the summer, we should be better than the rest, and that says minimum competing with Celtic. That says if it's second place again for another season, well, so be it, but we've got to be making sure that we're not having days out like, say, the St Mirrens that we've been seeing at home in Motherwell. That's not acceptable, no matter what manager comes in. We have always got a bigger budget in these teams, and we should always be able to handle that. And it should always really, in a sense, come down to all firms.
Can I come in, Robert?
Aye, dropping away.
Aye, no, just to back what Gary's saying, I think, that's, like I said, I've got a couple of patience for next season, right? But I think, like Gary said there, even with the current budget we've got, this is without the American investment, we should still clearly finish second, and we shouldn't be losing the amount of games away from home or at home as we've done this season. Probably the worst season in my Rangers football and supporting life, mate, if I'm honest. I think it's the worst season I've ever seen. I know there's a lot of mitigating factors in that, but I'm not going to make excuses for a shower of players that are not doing it. But I think with investment coming into the club, if you think, so you've got a pot A and pot B of managers that Rangers were looking at, and the pot A is out within the rails in the current climate, all of a sudden you've got managers that we can approach, and the managers, they'll do their homework as well. They'll make sure, by the way, if they got, what's my budget going to be like? All of a sudden now Rangers becomes an even more attractive proposition for a manager, because they'll be like, hold on a minute, they've got major American investors. I might be like up there and have a real go. And seeing the first season to come in, we can accept being second, Robert, right? But accept it as in if it's close and it does go down to Old Firm games and we've pushed them the whole way and they've showed fight, they've showed character, they've showed desire, the management team's been, the full driving force behind it along with the investors, I can accept being second if we lose a league like that, Robert. I just can't accept losing the league in the manner we're doing this year. That's going to be the big change for me. But my main point here is, for all the managers looking in at Ibrox right now, they'll know, especially ones who got a job that are going, oh, nice wee project up there in Glasgow. God, they've got money now. Maybe when they touched it in the last, say, 10 years, when they've been, they've had not a lot of money, but now they've got serious dough. I'll have a wee go up there.
Aye, I know we're sitting here just saying, maybe we're sitting putting names out that you would maybe not even dream of maybe 6 months ago. But we can dream, but we have to be realistic as well. And obviously, once the takeover's done, we'll see movement on it, obviously, at the end of the season. But speaking of ends, we're getting close to the end of the show, so why don't you give us a call?
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Robert, would it not be good that we appoint a manager that's got more power than the players? He's got that kind of stature. I think, to be honest, Gerrard got to that stature in his time at Rangers, that he had the power of the players, no matter what. I mean, there was times it was shaky and stuff like that, and I think some of the fans were kind of thinking it was time up for Gerrard and stuff like that. But as time went on, you could see that he was the leader, and if it was the players that was going to go before him. You know what I mean? It got to that kind of level and stature, and I think it would be good for us to kind of find that again, that the manager's got the power of the players. Much like that kind of way, that if somebody's not performing, then we'll be shutting you out no matter what. I know contracts tie you down and stuff like that, but I think there's ways and means now how you can, knacker a player into submission, and just basically taking a cut and going, as we've seen probably in the last summer there, with pushing players out the door.
I think you've got to find the balance, mate, between obviously the manager, you've got to show a bit of respect, and as a player, that's your manager, who's you get to work every day for. You do your best, but you've got to find that balance. As you said, we've seen it in the past where maybe a manager's had too much power, so to speak. I mean, if you look at Cantwell's situation, Clement came out and said, I'm not picking him, basically, because of his attitude. He used that, it got blown out of proportion, was all over the media, became a bit of a hindrance for the club. So I think you've got to find that balance between the player knows their role as a player, and the manager knows the limit is using the power. But it would be good to have something of an authority figure. I mean, I think when Clement first came in, we all mentioned on this show that he had an aura about him, he had a presence. But that wasn't enough to kind of manage these players and that kind of power as well. So you've either got it as a manager or you don't. You can't really train yourself for it. But hopefully, as I say, the takeover will be done at the end of the close season, touch wood, and the business guys will sort out all the kind of loose ends, and hopefully we've got a new management team that's got desire, firepower, and a will to succeed and do well for the club. As I said, it's hard not to get excited because of the investment, but I think where we've been, what we've been through, it's an exciting prospect for the club, and hopefully it's a new successful era for the football club. Speaking of success, we've also got a massive game on Thursday night. I know the guys will dive into it a lot more tomorrow night, but just before, obviously, we go off the air tonight, Bridgeman, how do you see Thursday going? Obviously, we've had a win and a loss going into this game on Thursday, but as we know, European, it's a different ball game for your club, let alone anybody else.
Yeah, it's huge. But I keep saying this every week because the next game is the biggest game of the season, as far as I'm concerned. But this is, you could say, Mount Everest type of stuff, for us, based on the form we've had over the last couple of weeks. So the players have got to understand they're in a big away game, and they have to set themselves up for this game. And of course, the coaching staff need to get it as well and bring them up for it. I'm always hope for a 1-0 for Rangers, but that maybe is just asking for too much. But obviously, I'll take a win or a draw, either of the two, and they've got to come back to Ibrox. If they put on a good show against them, then that whole God, we don't get doing, we don't get beat 3-4-0. Then I think we're in with a shout to get through. If we don't get beat 3-0, then that means the team's played quite well, in my opinion, and handled themselves well, and that's what we're looking for. I'm looking for if I can get a draw, I'd be very happy. A win would be fantastic. Just so they're away, and I wish them all the best. I hope they can manage to, in the back of their mind, pump all that stuff out. Just get it out, all the rubbish that's happened to them in the last couple of weeks. Just get that back, get it away, and stop thinking about it. And if they are, it needs to be done, and we've got to do it. It's as simple as that. And I really do. I hope we win. I hope we win, of course. But I think maybe if we scrape a draw, I'd be very happy.
Well, as Brad said, the first leg's obviously away on Thursday night, and then return leg next week at Ibrox. You mentioned earlier about these players performing in front of our support, the pressure, the demands. It's not going to be any less come Thursday night over in Turkey, is it?
No, nothing changes. Nothing changes for me. It just, the demands are always going to be there. This is part of parcel of playing on a Thursday and a Saturday, a Thursday and a Sunday. If we're in Champions League, it's a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. This demands you have to accept it being at our club, mate. I think form for us in Europe's been decent this season. I think that's when we seem to turn up. I think it was yourself touched on it earlier on. The low blocks in Europe, very rarely do we come against a low block. Teams they come out and try and hit us, and rightly so, because why should they respect us in the form we're in this season? But a few teams have had a bit of a shock this year, especially when you think of some of the results we've had over in France. We won 4-1 over there. We seem to save our best form for Europe, and this team seem to be set up better for the European nights. It's strange, mate. We've seen some excellent performances in Europe this year, and then come back and you get a result that you lose against St Johnstone or Ross County, whatever it may be. It's just, you just can't understand the difference. But I think it's basically down to our team cannot deal with a low block, mate. 100% fact. We cannot deal with a low block. So when teams open up against us, we have got the quality to hurt them, and we've proved that this season. So all I'll ask, mate, is stay in the tie, get it back to Ibrox, and let's take it from there, because they've not had, the best season under Mourinho. He's had a lot of frustrations. He was banned for 8 games for falling out with referees and all sorts over there. So he's not had the time that I think originally was hoping for. So I think, we can get a result against this mob, mate. I really do. Worst case scenario, a draw, because I think that this team do seem to show up in European nights.
If only we played the league games on a Thursday night, mate.
Aye, exactly.
GB Port mentions there about Fenerbahce's form. Me, mate, I love a wee stat. So Fenerbahce are unbeaten in their last 18 games. They're 4 points behind Galatasaray in the league. It was 9 points at one time. And their home form this season, from 12 games, they've taken 33 points from a possible 36. It's going to be tough.
Nice and straightforward, Robert, isn't it? These stats are horrific for Rangers in current form. The only hope I've got is, like I've said earlier, Robert, that it would not surprise me that we start seeing all these injuries clear up come Thursday night. You've got a Cortez waiting to come back. You've got, let's say, John Souttar's been already confirmed as coming back. It just helps the squad with these, hopefully, bits of quality coming in. And then you've got Sterling maybe possibly coming back as well. I would. I mean, you think about it: Cortez, Sterling, and John Souttar. It makes us stronger right away. They've been decent when they've been fit. All these players. I mean, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we, let's say, get John Souttar back into that defence, Taz back at his right back, and we maybe play, let's say, Sterling into that kind of holding defensive mid kind of position across there. And then hopefully Big Balogun can start on the left for us. And then Jefty can do Jefty things. I mean, the boys good at driving forward. So again, that's an area that we can hurt this team with Jefty with his runs. And then, let's say, if we've got Cortez there, Hadji, then there's a good nucleus of a team that can actually grab a result. And I just wouldn't be surprised if we go there and stay in, as Port says, stay in the tie, but a wee 1-1 or something like that would do me. And then, like he says, bring it back to Ibrox. And like I says, I think the squad would just be under the lights, the chance of getting through to the next round again, the feelings of that kind of Seville run coming back. You never know. You just never know.
No, you certainly do, mate. I don't think you mentioned Cortez there. He's not been included in the European squad, so it's one player that won't be there. Bridge.
Oh well, sorry.
You did your homework for next
You've
week,
just crushed my dreams again. Just come in there and crush my dreams.
Well, take a wee minute and I'll try and get your team in a few moments after I speak to Bridge. Bridge. Although the stats are out there that sound like they're on form, in the Europa League, the league phase, they did finish in 24th, which was the last playoff spot, and they get 10 points, scoring 9 goals, conceding 11. So they're there for the taking, or at least a result.
Yeah, I think we've all said that, to be honest. I'm admittedly what I'm saying anyways, with a lot of hope. This is what we want. We want everything to happen correctly, and most assuredly, I'd love to get a draw, and I would be deliriously happy if we get a win. As long as and maybe even as long as we don't get beat 3-0, then I'd be happier. Simply because of the recent form we've had. There's been horror shows all the way, so we don't want any horror shows. And if the teams show up and do well, and Rangers have done well in the Europa League, but to all intents and purposes, we are a Europa League team, as opposed to our neighbours across the city who believe they're a Champions League team. Well, that's a myth. So we do quite well, and I'm sure we need to pull it towards us and get it done right. It's as simple as that. Under no delusion, we must get it right. And if we want to go through it, get on there and come back to Ibrox with a decent result, that's what we want.
But Fenerbahce will probably line up in their usual formation, which looks on paper as a 3-4-1-2. You could argue it's a back five as well, with the kind of full-backs dropping deep. How do you see us shaping up and lining up? Give us your team for Thursday.
Again, it's all dependent on who makes it back. But obviously, right away, I would want my back four: Jefty, Balogun, Souttar, Tav, obviously Butland in goal. Because of your formation, I think I'd line up 4-4-3. 4-3-3. So I would want Diamande, Raskin, Tom Lawrence in the middle, and then a front three. Let's just go for it. Dessers, Cherny, and Bigerman. That's what I would go with.
What's your rationale for Tom Lawrence?
I think he's the best at between midfield. I think he can still dip into midfield and help that. Them two. I think I'm not saying he's defensively minded, but what I'm saying is he's decent enough to trap in and certainly link midfield to front. So the job you'd be giving Raskin Diamande would be the guys you're probably going to sit but Tom Lawrence would be the man breaking and linking up with the from midfield to front, basically, mate. That's my rationale for
Maybe the fact he's had some game time maybe alludes to that possibility, mate.
that. I don't see why we should show them respect, mate. I mean, they're littered with experience. We think the boy Skriniar, who's been at Milan, PSG of late, he's on loan to Fenerbahce right now. The boy Srinkyu, he's ex-Leicester City. Fred, ex-Man United. Kostic, Juventus, we came against him in the final, actually, in Seville. And then you've got Dzeko, Tadic, and Ennesheri up front. Ennesheri won a few titles in Europe with Seville, Moroccan international. Tadic, 36, ex-Ajax, and Dzeko, ex-Man City, again, 36 years of age. So we don't need one about pace in behind tomorrow night, in my opinion. So I think that's one of the last things. So I think we could play a decent high line, mate, and keep them penned in. Fred as well, 34 in midfield. Quality player, Brazilian international, but again, on the other side of his career now. So I do think we can have a go at them, mate.
GB, what about yourself? Your team for Thursday?
I would go with Yefty, Shooter if he's back fit, Tav, Big Balogun, Butland obviously, and then I would go with the same as Port. I would go with Lawrence, Raskin, and Diamande, and then I would go out left, as Port's been saying about the pace stuff. I would put out Ridvan. I would have Czerny, and then I would have a man up front.
Over Dessers, 3 goals in 2 games.
I think I don't think we need to worry about like kind of hold up play. I think we just need to go at them. But maybe again, depends. We don't know how Barry is as a manager. Like, we don't know if he'll be cautious in this game and maybe just make sure he gets the tie back to Ibrox, or will he go for it? The way our season is, I'd probably go for it. To be honest, I mean,
Aye, why not? Bridge. Just before we wrap up the show, mate, who's your team for Thursday night?
Good one. Well, I've slagged everybody anyway, so I think I would change the defence, and I would go with Ridvan. Butland, Ridvan at right back. I'd go with Proper and oh, for God's sake, it's just left my mind. Balogun, I can't remember his name there. So I would go for Proper and Balogun in centre, and Yefty obviously for the left back. In the midfield, I would want to have Raskin and Diamande. And seriously, I mean this in all honesty, but if I could, I'd bring a young boy. Was it Robin? What's his name? What's the young lad? No, not Bailey Rice. The other young boy that's he was injured. Connor Barron, that's him.
Yeah.
With him and a 3 across the middle, and I would go for Dessers, and Dessers. For goodness sake, Bajirami. Is it Bajirami?
Bajirami, yeah.
Bajirami, yeah. Him and of course, if you what about the boy?
Czerny,
yeah. Is he available?
Yep.
Yeah.
Should be,
Okay. I would go for them. And that's my living. I would go for them. They would do as well. And of course, we've got the other centre forward boy. It's not quite 100% yet, but he's doing all right. So we'll always have him as a backup. But that's what I would go for, in all honesty. And let's hope we do it.
I think there's more depth and options. I think in this tie, obviously we added in a few players, but it is getting to that time of the night. So the last word from yourself, Port Bear.
Hi, mate. No, thanks for having us on. Great to be on with you again. But excited about this tie Thursday, mate. I really am. I just think Thursday nights are superb. I really look forward, and all the really dab season we've had, I actually look forward to Thursday night, because I think that's when we show up. This team just seem to come alive on a Thursday night, mate. No rhyme or reason to why it happens, apart from just they're more suited to that style. So cheers for everyone's on, you, Gary, and our bridge man. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers for coming on, mate. It's always appreciated. Always good to hear from you. Last word from your good self, Bridgeman.
Oh, what can I say? Fantastic night tonight. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots and lots of chat. Lots of dreary chat for me because I was so disappointed. But it's our team. Or certainly it's my team anyway, that's for sure. That's the way I like to look at it. And I think all of you kind of start tonight. Guys, for carrying me through there. Thank you very much. GB, good boy. And of course, can I just say the techie boys in the background, and to all the Rangers fans that are listening all over the world, look forward to Thursday. Let's get in there. Let's get our spirits lifted and let's go for it, because they are our team. No matter what we say, they are our team and we need to support them. So everybody keep it going for the Rangers all the way. Keep it going. Thank you very much.
I didn't realise your initials, GB, stood for good boy. Last word
Good
from
boy.
yourself, mate.
I know, brilliant night, Robert. Big thanks to Port for coming in and he's helping us out, and big thanks to Bridgeman for giving his altered intelligence tonight. That's keep my feet in the ground. But one thing, Robert, tonight with your subjects, you've made me want to make Rangers great again. So I'll be going straight on to Amazon tonight and buying my American hat.
That does pose a question now that you mention that. That banner came out very early. Wonder if there was a wee rumour beforehand, if that was a spoiler. Anyway, can I just say thanks to yourself, GB and Bridgeman, for doing the show. Port Bear for joining us. Always good to hear from you. Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 PM talking about all things Rangers and previewing a big match on Thursday night. Take it away, Mr. Fox.